Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Many a True Nerd, and welcome back to Civilization VII. Where last time, we entered the modern era, and our civilization evolved into its final form. And that is Meiji Japan, so, okay, this is it, the final era. This is the point where we win, or we lose. So okay, let's try and get our head around the modern era here, because a lot has just changed, and maybe the most immediately obvious thing is resources. There have been some huge changes there. Some of our old favourites have gone, some amazingly powerful new ones have appeared, and perhaps most important of all, oh yeah, some incredibly powerful strategic resources are now in play that could 100% be critical in any future wars, and this being the modern era, trust me, there's gonna be wars. So okay, let's turn our attention to, yes, up north here, between Yinchan and Athens, because once upon a time, one of my favourite resources lived here. I think we should just have a moment's silence for camels. I'm gonna miss you, camels, you were great. Though I'm gonna work under the assumption that, you know, what's supposed to be happening here is, the camels aren't dead, they're not like extinct or anything, we didn't wipe them out by overutilising them as part of our resource strategy. They're just not represented on the map anymore because modern society is now at such a scale that access to camels doesn't really affect the resource capacity of an entire city. But in its place, a whole bunch of new stuff has spawned in. We've got tobacco, we've got citrus fruits, and okay, most important of all, we've got coal. Because, you know, just like we had iron in the earlier eras, where if you had access to iron, your infantry was a bit stronger, yeah, in the modern era, the same thing applies, but turned up to 11. Coal, you see, makes some of your navy more powerful, and that's nice, but it's not like, you know, every ship, it's only light naval vessels. What's arguably much more important is oil. Now, oil is, yes, what you really bloody want. So, heavy naval units get stronger, and so does cavalry. And do bear in mind, of course, in Civ language, cavalry also refers to tanks and other incredibly powerful units. So, okay. Now, oil. That's the thing you really need to lock down. And we have been bloody lucky, actually. This is good. This is really bloody good. We've already got 5 oil in the Empire, just by sheer chance it spawned within our borders. Although this is hilarious, which is, yeah, pretty much all of it isn't inside the borders I myself set up. So, the city-state that we integrated, purely for the sake of locking down this cup of tea, that also had oil. So, right. This city has just gone from a very small curiosity on the edge of the Empire to absolutely critical for the maintenance of my fleet. So, okay. This is one of the bigger first things you've got to get your head around in the modern era. Some of your cities that used to be incredibly powerful might no longer be quite so strategically important. Meanwhile, small outposts could suddenly be absolutely critical. Oh, and even better. Right, 2 more oil are right here on the city. I took off a stupid Catherine, so, okay. Catherine has got a lot less oil than she would otherwise, because I already took it off her. Magnificent. The other critical resource in terms of military is, yes, rubber. Because that boosts not just your infantry, but your air units, and by the end of the game, when everybody's got air forces, whoever's got the best one, basically, they win. So, okay. Catherine's got a city on my borders with 2 rubber inside it. Let's just say, yes, she might not be allowed to keep that in the long term. For the time being, though, right, what we need to immediately do is scout out any areas that need to be locked down, and, okay. This area where once upon a time there was incense and the city-state of Carthage, these days, these guys have got coal, they've got oil, they've got coffee, brand new resource, magnificent, and tobacco too. Right, I feel like, you know, locking down this area, that might be a good idea. And then we've got, yeah, the coal and oil up here as well. That would be nice too. So, okay, this is the priority. But yeah, me and Jose might be racing to lock down this bit. So, okay. Gotta figure out how to spend my starting money, because you can bring about 3 grand through from era to era. And a seller's gonna cost me £1 grand immediately if I want just to get that out right now. And you know what? I do. I think that is a good use of money. So you start moseying northwards, lock down that flipping oil, please. The rest of my money needs to be spent on, yes, getting my empire back up and running in terms of cities. Because, once again, we didn't take the economic golden age because it's kind of garbage. So, right. Tokyo is a city. And Jinshan is a city as well. Everything else are back to being a town. So, okay. It is so cheap to just get a few cities back up and running. So, Whack Capnal, you're back to where you should be. And I tell you what, I suspect there's some very good adjacencies in terms of, you know, water, etc., right here in Catherine's former territory. So, okay, you could be a city too, but I suspect at some point, yes, that cost is going to start scaling up. So, Guangzhou up here, right, up to 450. But once again, this could be, okay. This could be a good base to seriously lock down, so, you know, we can launch troops from here to defend any of the other islands on our island chain. So, you could be a city too, that's fine, and we can probably afford one more if we're lucky. You know what, maybe even two. So, you could be a city as well. Seriously, the economic golden age is not worth it. It's flipping turn 1 of the modern era, and I've basically got all of my cities back to being cities anyway. And okay, at this point it would be 1,000 a go, so we can't afford any more, but honestly, yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape. Oh, never mind. It's partly a function of city size. Athens has been a city for so bloody long, that is incredibly cheap to convert. So, right, Athens, welcome back. And once again, just like at the start of the exploration age, yeah, all the buildings from the previous era, you cannot now construct. The ones you've got, they're still there, though some of them may be a bit on the, flimsy side, shall we say. Oh yeah, a pavilion and a menagerie representing only 3 culture and 3 happiness. Once again, they've lost all their adjacencies, so they're only producing a very small amount of base yields. But they still cost me the same upkeep as other buildings from this era, so, okay. The pavilion by existing costs 3 happiness, which basically is just cancelling out the menagerie, so, okay, in this entire quarter, yeah, I'm paying 6 gold for 3 culture. Not a great deal, no. This is also why, yes, in my experience at the start of the modern age, you'll notice your empire is very, very miserable a large part of the time. Because, you know, you've been building all these advanced buildings that cost happiness, and you've been offsetting that using, you know, happiness buildings, their adjacencies, social policies, all sorts of bonuses from narrative events, etc. Now we're in a new era, all of that's gone away, but the happiness penalties are still present. So, yes, little sad faces are now existing next to several of my cities. Minus 20 in Wat Cabnal. So, yeah, we need to sort that out, because negative happiness directly converts into reduced yields off absolutely everything. Luckily, yes, we do have a whole bunch of resources we could assign to our various towns to help us sort that out, though not that many. Mainly because loads of them have moved down here, to the factory resource section, which appears to be about half the resources I've got in the entire empire, so for the time being, we can't do anything with those, but once factories do get online, okay, those start getting sexy, let's just put it that way. But yeah, Wat Cabnal desperately needs cheering up, so we'll give them horses, which, delightfully, these days, don't actually make your cavalry any stronger. They just make the city happier, because now we use them for recreational horse riding, not warfare, which I think is delightful. And ivory, same basic deal. That used to be used to make wonders, and now it's used to make, yes, production and happiness. Possibly we're turning these elephants into pianos, which I don't feel like, you know, entirely good about, actually. There's also a new trick to some resources, which is, yeah, some of them work much better at the center of the empire than anywhere else, so this silky is much more efficient if we load it into Tokyo. Others, meanwhile, are tied to railroads, so the faster we get to rail stations, the more we can get out of this tobacco. So go on then, Tokyo's got plenty of production, we don't need to be rushing that into there, so you can have absolutely all of the silk in the world, marvellous, and wash it down with some delicious high production whales. Good. And as for new buildings, yeah, we've got very limited options for the time being, so if happiness is an absolute bloody priority because your city is miserable as anything, you can put up a park if you want to. Honestly, yeah, most of my cities don't need that. a grocer for a giant pile of food, that's much better. Though, to be precise, yes, this is one of those warehouse ageless buildings, where they don't do much themselves, but they augment other tiles. So, on this occasion, it's going to make every single one of my fishing boats better, my plantations, my farms, everything. So, yeah, you want to be going down straight away. Though do keep in mind, yeah, it's worth putting it somewhere that's a completely trash tile that's not got any good adjacencies, because this thing is not gaining any benefit from being next to, say, the river, so you want to reserve the river for buildings that would benefit from being next to it. Here we go, toss you down here, get rid of the old ancient altar. Okay, that done, let's move over to the tech trees, because yes, we've got some difficult choices to make, because, just a reminder, okay, science-wise, I'm currently leading, though not by a huge amount. Culture, I've caught up a bit, but, okay. I'm still in not quite last place, but not too far off it either, so, okay. That lack of culture, that might be about to come and sting me a bit. Still, the science bit is at least a nice, easy start for me, which is academics. That gets me, yes, the new modern era science building, the schoolhouse, brilliant, together with one of the very few wonders that exists in the tech tree. So, right, Oxford University, 2 technologies, wildcard attribute point, 100%, we should be able to lock that one down pretty easily. So, yeah, I want to get that because I should be able to secure that wonder. The civics tree, however, that one's a little bit more complicated because, once again, we've got 2 trees. And that's not flipping all. Because when we get to political theory, we unlock the ideology trees. A 3rd tree that lets us pick our nation's ideology. So, yeah, there's going to be 3 trees in civics pretty bloody soon. That, however, is not my immediate concern. My first concern is, yeah, the first modern civic we're going to be rushing for, and I would love to take social question. That's a great civic for me, because that wonder, that's my wonder, the one I can build super easily. And it's a good wonder too, and on top of that, I can boost my specialists. I love specialists, Confucius is all about specialists, but I can't take this. I simply can't. And there's a very specific reason for that, and that is natural history and the bloody cultural victory track. So, the way you win the game if you want to get a cultural victory is artifacts, which basically means gather things and put them on display, just like we did with codices for science in Era 1, or religious relics in Era 2. Send your archaeologists around and dig stuff up, put it on display, congratulations, you win. The problem being, this victory condition is completely bloody busted and 100% it is going to get massively reworked at some point because it is incredibly easy to get a quite early victory if you're a cultural civ. For the simple reason that yes, the Explorer, the unit that digs up artifacts, you can literally research it first. Like, right here. And as a result, start making huge progress towards winning immediately. So, as a result, yes, I'm going to be taking natural history right now for the sake of basically defensively digging up artifacts so Catherine can't. Oh, and speaking of which, okay, very good narrative event to kick us off here. So, right, we've got a new and marvellous technology, the train, etc, and can either help myself to a pile of science or a pile of culture. Give me the culture. We need to flipping catch up with everyone else when it comes to studying natural history, because my one advantage is, while I do have less culture than everyone else, I suspect I've got more production and more gold. So, yeah, what I can do is just buy things with gold or get them out with production relatively quickly. Even if I'm late to this civic, I might still be able to get my explorers out pretty bloody efficiently. And finally, everyone else on the board. So, right. Jose Rizal likes me, and he's Prussia. Good. Prussia can be an absolute powerhouse in terms of military, so keeping him on side, that's good. Let's me and you do a research collaboration. He accepts it, he doesn't support it, so that's positive, but not like too positive. In terms of Continent 2, meanwhile, right. Most of these people are nowhere near me, and this doesn't really affect me at all. Only person who's anywhere nearby to me is Harriet Tubman, so, okay. Let's see if we can, be a bit nice to her. She's willing to accept that. Good, our relationship is now moving in the right direction. But I do want to hold on to a fair whack of influence, just in case anyone tries to denounce me. Just so I can, point to them and say, actually, sorry, no you don't. Okay, that's the basics, so let's get time ticking along here, because, yeah, we need to lock down that territory up north, and, okay. The city-states have arrived for this era, and they are pretty on the angry side by the looks of it. Okay, we've got a scientific city-state who's just spawned on this tiny spur of land between my two biggest cities, and, okay. Because you're scientific, my friend, honestly, I wouldn't mind having you as an actual city-state, because the benefits I get for, you working for me are probably pretty bloody good. Kamasi, meanwhile, right, cultural city-state, honestly, we don't really need that, no. So, okay. Deploy the army commander northwards. We'll just go and smash at those guys, that's fine. But yeah. You, my friend, how much does it cost these days to get you on side? 510. Ouch. So, okay. We probably will do that, but for the time being, okay. Just deploy a handful of basic troops in their direction, just to make sure they don't get any silly ideas about burning down any parts of my city. And okay, we also get to choose a government, so as usual, yeah, this is just the bonuses you get to pick when you go into a celebration. So, yeah, I'm gonna say elective republic, so I can boost my science or culture if I need to. And at the same time, beautiful. My settler has reached his destination, so, my friend, pop yourself down there, and Kyoto immediately joined up with a road, marvellous. That is now going to be, okay, a very, very important settlement in terms of locking down all of this oil. Because, funny old thing, which is, these ships we've got here, ships of the line. Now, you probably wouldn't think it to look at them, but apparently they run on oil, because officially they are a heavy naval unit. And heavy naval units, they benefit from oil. So, somewhere we're like, shoving oil into these boats and it's making them better. This starts making a lot more sense when we get to tier 2 and our boats, look like the sort of boat that needs oil. Oh, and here we flipping go, our first tech completed, and do bear in mind, of course, yes, we have now set up what I believe may be the single most broken loop in the entire game. Maya in Era 1, into Japan in Era 3. So, I just finished a tech. And as a result, every single city that's got our lovely unique Mayan quarter, they just took that tech, converted it into production, and finished building what they were building. And that's lovely. But that's just the start. Because now I'm playing as Japan. Anytime I overbuild a building, I gain science equal to 50% of that building's production cost. So, yes, when I finish building a building, it can generate enough science to finish a tech, which then immediately flows back into the city and finishes the next building I've got in a queue. And I'm pretty sure the game does save the overflow, because all of a sudden, yeah, those buildings are looking a little bit suspiciously cheap, so spare production and spare science, I don't think those go to waste. They just get queued up, so, okay, Myron's Japan is going to get silly in a hurry. And speaking of which, right, let's talk about Oxford University. Because, yeah, not only does that generate a bit of science, it also gives me some text for free as well. So, right, let's get you down immediately. Because, yeah, that's going to take 10 turns to do. But if I start working on the steam engine right now, okay, that's going to finish in 7. That should push that over the line. So, we should be able to get that wonder. Oh, better. Apparently, we've got a coconut-related decision to make here, so, okay. Falling coconuts have become a menace. We can rule that nature has a right to retaliate against, like, people standing underneath coconut trees, which would give me a ridiculous amount of culture, actually. Or alternatively, 1,000 happiness towards the next celebration. Oh, no. We need the culture right now, because, okay. Natural history. Brilliant. So, right. We can now build explorers and start digging up artifacts. And once again, I don't want to win this victory. I just need to dig up these artifacts and put them safely away in my museums so Catherine can't. And as an added benefit, right, there's a wonder here that would make a lake tiles much, much better. I tell you what, officially this giant body of water here is not actually the ocean, because yeah, there's a single tile of river separating it from the sea, so, okay. Is there space for... Oh. Now building that right in Catherine's face. We've got to do that. That's too hilarious not to do. But okay. The most important thing is now ready to go, and that is the Explorer. Which I don't need. I'm just doing this defensively, but whatever. So, I've been saving up money so I can get out an Explorer immediately. The way these guys work is, they've got to track down artifacts. But right now, we don't know where the artifacts are. So, step one, we've got to track them down, but, okay, the system is a little bit on the buggy side. Because you've got to research where the ruins are at universities or museums. Except apparently my Golden Age university doesn't count, so I've kind of been screwed over by the fact that, yes, my university is just too bloody good. Meanwhile, despite the fact that, yes, I've done no research whatsoever in Asia, apparently I just sort of know where their artifacts are already. They're marked with the spade icon. And also, there are supposed to be 3, and currently there's 4 available. So there's more artifacts than there are supposed to be available on the continent of Asia right now, so... As I say, the system's a bit on the buggy side. I also do not like the fact that, yes, Isabella is moving troops around nearby to my borders. Oh, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing over here either. Looks to me like Catherine is moving her cavalry towards my border too. Still, bare minimum, yeah. We can now get my Explorer here, start doing some researching, and as a result... Okay, we need to lock all of these down before Catherine does, though, okay. Catherine is technically on her own continent, over here, on Avalonia. We need to make sure there's nothing that she could get here in Antarctica. So, okay, next turn I should have enough money to buy a second Explorer, which I'm going to do. And in the meantime, Steam Power's about to finish this turn. If we're lucky, that might be enough to, yes, push Tokyo over the line in terms of Oxford University.
I wonder anybody does anything at Oxford but dream and remember.
And there we go, it is. And I'm pretty sure, yes, that's one of the archaeological dig sites right next door, though I do dislike how every bloody Civ game, this is how they represent Oxford University. Because people look at this and assume that big building with the dome on it is Oxford University. It's not. It's the Radcliffe camera. That's a library. What's in the library? I don't know. Books, I assume. I've never been inside it. Barely anyone has, because it's a very specific library that only covers a very narrow range of topics. So, yeah, that's just a random library that happens to be right in the centre of Oxford that honestly isn't really much to do with the university. Now, this small building at the side that you probably aren't paying any attention to, that is part of Oxford University. That's Brasenose College, right there. But you're not looking at that, are you? Because everyone's always focused on the stupid blue dome of the Radcliffe camera. And better, right, like Oxford University is supposed to do, it's unlocking a whole bunch of free texts for me. So okay, we just got, yeah, military science and the mastery of the steam engine for free. Beautiful. Okay, this is where things start getting silly, by the way, which is, you may notice over in a Whack Cabinal, literally everything now costs me 1 turn to build. The reason being, Oxford University just gave me, like, 3 techs completing in 1 turn. And every single tech fed production into my city. So, yeah, that production's now been stored up and I can just use it to build anything in 1 turn. And if this building I'm about to put up overbuilds something else, that's going to generate science that feeds into the next tech finishing, so, yeah, Maya and Japan, this is going to get silly. Okay, meanwhile in the terrifyingly confusing world of archaeology, yes, I now know about literally every single exploration artifact. I've no idea how I know, given I've not done research on most of these continents, but apparently I do. Maybe like I was about to say my allies did, but no, I've not got any allies. Seriously, this is a very confusing system, so, okay. The point is, start digging them up, because apparently, we've got 5 on this continent. But okay, let's move on from the culture track to what I'm actually bloody thinking about here, which is There's social question. Brilliant. Love that one because that is a bloody good wonder. Happiness and also a bonus population whenever you enter a celebration. But more importantly, we've started unlocking, yes, various policies that boost your specialists. So here we go. Let's just plug that in right now. The social sciences, so +2 science from specialists. Factoring in, I already get +2 science from specialists. And on top of that, specialists also gain even more benefits from other bits and pieces inside the tile they're going on. And, okay. Already, I can get 6.5 science and a 3 culture off a single specialist, though it is costing me more food all of a sudden. You see, there will come a time when your megacities simply become too big, too populous, too full of specialists, etc. to support themselves. Eventually they'll stagnate, and in the meantime, they'll grow significantly more slowly. But I need them to keep growing because every time they grow, that's another cocking specialist. So this is the point we need to really start thinking about, yes, dedicated farming towns. So say Pompeii, down here, 13 population, fairly underwhelming production really. Is this town ever going to contribute that much? Is it ever going to be worth promoting to a full city? I'd say a much better use for it could be, slapping down a granary just to make its farms etc. make even more flipping food. And switching it straight over to a farming town, which because we're in the 3rd era now means this town's gonna get a +3 on every single food producing McGibble. Oh yeah, +6 out on the water, +7 on land, lovely. Meaning all of a sudden, this place is generating 62 food, but because this is a farming town, it's not using it to grow. Instead, it's sending it to nearby cities. Now that's boosted Whack Capital's food income by like 50%. They only had 50 before, now they're up to bloody 80, so they're gonna grow way faster. And this is where my islands could be very useful indeed, because, okay, this is something that could definitely do with, a bit of an overhaul in terms of communicating information to the player, but if you turn an island into just, a fishing community, it will start shipping its food somewhere. But I feel like, this element here, there's not much to be gained by letting it grow any further. So you are going to become a fishing town, and you're going to send your food somewhere. A mystery location you don't know before you actually put it into fishing town mode, but okay. Half of it's like made it round the corner here. Fascinating. And half has gone northwards. Gotcha. But what I think I need is a dedicated farming community that's feeding my 2 biggest cities, Yinchan and Tokyo. And I think I know precisely how we're gonna do that. There is a lovely tiny bit of space right here. Fairly unremarkable, tiny bit of coffee, handful of furs, etc, etc. But if I just, set up a fishing village here, expand as quick as I can out into all these ocean tiles, then that is just going to feed my 2 biggest cities. Also, mildly embarrassing development down south here, which is Pompeii's been taken by random rebels from a small city-state who spawned here by the Great Barrier Reef, and they just kind of came and took the city while I wasn't paying attention. But that's fine, because they're not going to burn it down for like 12 turns, so we're going to take it back, it's fine. Here we go, bit of a mortar fire, toss in a field cannon or 2, march in with my actual troops, and Pompeii is mine once again. Let's, just pretend that didn't happen. Okay, one thing I do need to be aware of, though, is, it's not just me who's gathering artifacts. So far, no one in Asia seems to be doing much to pick up the ones around there. But okay. In Euro-America, somebody has already hoovered up a whole bunch. Probably Harriet Tubman. And meanwhile up north, right. Operation Basically Pointless Fishing Village is ready to go. So immediately start expanding, out into the ocean. Pay for a fishing key straight away, just so, they grow as fast as possible. And basically toss money to just speed up the growth of this community. And okay, good news on the relationship front, which is Jose Rizal now loves me again. The question is, do I love him back? Because sure, having him ready to jump in if Catherine attacks him, and when I say if, I mean when, that's certainly, useful. But it also might expose me to being pulled into his wars. I'm gonna do it. I think that's for the best, because he's not actually unfriendly with anyone apart from Catherine. So he's not like, on the verge of going to war with anybody else. It just struck me. The centre of my empire is looking a tiny bit, undefended right now. And Catherine's moving about with, commanders, cavalry, etc, etc. We should probably, build some troops or something. That and work on, gold infrastructure elsewhere. For the simple reason that gold means I can magic an army out of nothing relatively easily.
It is cold, but we have sake and the hot spring.
Okay, so, good news and bad news, which is one, I have now got a beautiful hot spring and to enjoy the little animations, but especially the tiny special thing at the end. So because it's a hot spring, there's a special little plume of steam right at the end, and sometimes it's fireworks and sometimes it's parrots, and okay, that's lovely. I do appreciate that. Also, why is someone flying a Swiss flag in the background? Okay, you know what? I'm not going to complain. We have, changed our civilization's identity multiple times over the course of this game. I can't blame anyone who gets a bit confused and thinks for some reason we're Switzerland at the minute.
Princes are like pythons. They swallow each other.
Never mind, not one bit of good news, but two. So okay, that was the lake wonder we were building down south, and beautiful. And there we go, parrots. I was just saying parrots, marvellous. However, there is still bad news, and that is okay. Catherine's got explorers out. The terrifying work has begun. So okay, bare minimum, that would appear to be, the last artifact in this bit of the world. So that's fine, she can have that, no trouble. The safe option, however, might be, send my explorers overseas just to mop up this stuff too. The reason I'm doing this, by the way, is because, yes, there is a civic much further down the tree that opens up a second set of artifacts. But that one is so far down the tree, there's no way in hell I'm getting hold of them before, various other people get to them first. So, mopping up as much of the first wave as I can just to make sure no one else does, that's the safest option. And on top of that, we just finished Industrialization, so, okay. Time to stop talking about the victories I'm not going for, and address the ones I actually am. Military's very simple, would you believe, take over other people's stuff. Science is also pretty simple, get down the science path, discover flight and space stuff, research them, build them, do them. Simple as anything. Economic, meanwhile, this one's really rather bloody interesting, which is, you've got to generate railroad tycoon points by building railways, factories, plugging stuff into them, etc, etc. Which is fine as a victory condition, but the nice thing is, when you get factories up and running, they can do some slightly ridiculous things. Like, say, coffee, boost production towards buildings and wonders by 5%, which probably doesn't sound amazing, but once you've set up a coffee factory, you can stack as much coffee as you can get hold of in that one factory, and stack the benefits on top of each other. So, right now, I've got 3 coffee in the Empire, and I'm pretty sure there's another one I've just not claimed yet. And there's nothing to stop me just sending out traders and acquiring more coffee that I can then plug into the same factory and, factories could get silly in a hurry. So, step 1 to doing that is, building a rail network. You've got to connect your entire empire together via rail so all the factories can trade with each other or whatever. That fills an entire tile, but it does generate a decent amount of gold anyway. And just in case I was worried, these railways might take a bit too long to put together or something. There we go, we've just discovered electricity, which also gets me, labs and stock exchanges. And there we go, we have now got to one functional railway. Meaning as soon as the tech is ready, you're right. Factories are now on the horizon. But yes, even though we don't actually have factories yet, that doesn't mean railways are just for show or indeed just for money. now that I've got, a handful set up on my core cities and whatnot, I can just say move my commander and all his packed up troops onto this here rail station. Click the mover by rail button and congratulations. They can now instantaneously teleport from one to the other. Meaning basically, you don't need garrison troops anymore. Just ship your army wherever it needs to be. Oh, and here we flipping go. The civic I've been waiting for has unlocked. We've got political theory and... okay, this is where things go bananas. Starting off with a ridiculously good social policy card. So, right, 100% of food and happiness towards specialist maintenance. Because right now they're costing me like, 2.5 food and happiness each. So let's just, halve that, I'd say. Oh yeah, just slapped down a specialist on my new stock exchange over in Yinchan and... okay. All of a sudden we've got like, a yield of 12 at a cost of only 1.2 each. Beautiful. And that's great, that is, but let's be honest, that is not the most exciting part of political theory. We've just opened up the ideology tree, so, okay, we're up to 5 cocking trees in the modern era. Luckily, yeah, these are mutually exclusive, so, okay. Let's go through these, because they've all gone to very different purposes. Democracy here is all about happiness and culture. Fine, I suppose, it's okay, there might be a build where that's useful to you. Fascism, meanwhile, skews more towards the military. If you want production, you want lots of troops, etc, etc, basically, yeah, it's for the domination victory. But then we move on to communism. And comrades, let me tell you about the glorious revolution, because bloody hell is communism so much better than the other two ideologies. It is ridiculous. Because just taking the first rank of communism gets you 2 new social policies, one of which is +3 science from specialists at a cost of gold from towns. Gold from towns is pretty insignificant and that science is lovely, but the real sexy bit is +6 food from specialists, and I just want you to really think about that for a second. Because right now, the entire point of a specialist is, you get, giant piles of yields, like more than you get from a well-placed building, but as a result, you lose food, meaning your city's growth slows down. But what if it didn't? What if every single specialist you put in place gave you vastly more food than you're losing, meaning for every specialist you place, your city grows faster, meaning you get your next specialist faster, meaning your city grows faster, and basically you end up in a situation where every specialist is reinforcing an exponential growth spiral. Basically, my empire's about to get a bit silly. And all that's great, but okay, we need to keep an eye on things, because even after everything I did, I'm not even, ahead in the culture race right now. Harriet Tubman is tied with me, and Catherine is only just behind. So, okay, I was right to do what I did. Just look how much faster this track is going up than any of the others. Still, I would say on the verge of our glorious communist revolution, how about we call it a part there? But next time, okay. As I say, things are about to get a bit silly. Once we put factories and communism together, my empire is going to flipping explode. And with this much science pouring in, right, it's only a matter of time until our military leader becomes so significant that Catherine won't be able to keep up anymore. And when that happens, I was saying earlier, Bononia does appear to be, squatting what I consider to be my rubber, actually. So, okay. I think we've got some ridiculous yields as well as the possibility of a brand new war coming up next time. So hopefully you join me for that. But in the meantime, I've been John, this has been Many a True Nerd. And this has been Civilization 7. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
I really hope we've agreed open borders with Japan, by the way, otherwise they have basically just invaded. I may have picked the wrong fight over... Yep. And my cities, of course, have got even more flipping high-tech, though mysteriously still completely dependent on, an aqueduct. Now, I'm not saying your entire army is mostly already dead, but it kind of actually is.